All right, welcome, Melissa. Thank you for joining us.
Sue? Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure. Okay, Melissa, so you are a chef. Are you a pit master, do you think?
I would say I'm on my way.
I would say so too. You own Sandwich, which started out in Ashland, and now you have one in Portland over on Burnside. Also Pastrami Zombie, which is a truck now in the Milwaukee area.
Yep.
I'm curious if you'll just share with us a little bit about your background and how you got started. When did the idea come up, or did you always know, like from the time that you first worked in a food related business, that you wanted to have your own place?
That's a loaded question.
It's a big question with lots of arms, so you can grab anyone you want and just talk.
Yeah, I'll try and make it not so crazy, a little more brief. I started in the restaurant business when I was 14 at this place called My Favorite Inn. My mom was the bartender there, and one day a couple of cooks didn't show up and they needed somebody on the salad line, and they showed me how to make the salads, and I knocked it out of the park, and I kept coming back. In Chicago, it was in Chicago. Like I said, it was a small Italian restaurant called My Favorite Inn, and then I continued to work in restaurants forever after that. I'm 38 now, so 24 years. No, yeah, 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild, really aging myself. I did a lot of front of the house before I became a chef. I was a bartender, I was a server, I was a restaurant manager, um, I was a dishwasher.
Yes.
I was a dishwasher for a while because I knew that I wanted to learn how to cook, but I wasn't there yet. And so uh, with interest either, and I think in this profession, you have to really be into it to want to be a cook, because it's really hard work. You do the same thing over and over again, and it's not a lot of pay. Of course, our industry is changing and it's becoming a better work environment, but 12-hour days without a break is that used to be a normal day in the kitchen.
On your feet the whole time.
Oh yeah, and grateful to the Gen Zers who are changing the world, because that's not how I run my restaurant anymore, or restaurants. Um, with that reverse mentorship of the young people understanding what's a good work-life integration. And so I was in Ashland, I was waiting tables, bartending, doing all this fun stuff, and I was coaching baseball, and I loved it. But Ashland was a very seasonal town. I spent most of my time coaching and like a third of my time working. It wasn't sustainable, and I decided that I'm an entrepreneur by genetics. Both my grandfathers own their own businesses, um, and to be honest, I attribute my entrepreneurship to becoming a chef. I knew that I was ready to be a leader, and I was a born leader. I just didn't know what trade I was going to do. School, I'll be honest, college just wasn't for me. I went to college for 8 years and I have no degree. I should be a doctor, and I'm still paying student loans for a degree that I don't have.
I'm doing that too, by the way.
So I decided in this tourist town that I needed a full-time job. So I went looking at commercial real estate. I mean, for 2 years straight, all I did was look for places. I looked at every restaurant 10 times that there was possible to look at, looking for a good deal, because most people just jump right in. Well, I wanted something that was long lasting, sustainable. Most restaurants are lucky to last a year. I'm at 8 years. I'm basically breaking every wall there was to break in the restaurant business as far as longevity goes. So I found this place that became Sandwich One. I had no idea what it was going to be, what it was going to be called. I just saw the space and I loved the space. And I knew if I could get that space, I could do something awesome in that space. Well, I got the space, and 41 days later was the first opening day of Sandwich. I had no business plan. I had no menu. I had no name. I had no clue what I was going to do. I talked the landlord into trusting me and making a deal. And I remodeled an entire restaurant and made a menu and a business in 41 days. And it was the best, most exciting thing. I had $800 in my bank account and borrowed 20,000. And on the first day, 108 people came, and here we are 8 years later, and nothing's changed. It's pretty wild. And I opened Sandwich One with my ex-wife, and she was a chef, and she did the cooking. I was still the front of the house. And a year later, we went our separate ways, and I knew that I wanted to keep the restaurant. It's a Chicago themed restaurant. It's sandwiches. We decided the food we were going to do, because I missed the food of where I came from. Like, my whole passion of Chicago and eating food was, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to open a sandwich shop of the food I was making pastrami at my house by myself, like, for 3 months prior to that, not because I thought I was going to open a sandwich place, because I was just missing it, and you couldn't get it out here. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. I'm originally from Texas, spent most of my life in Chicago, and so I learned how to smoke meat. I've been smoking meat since I was like tiny. And so the chef and I went our separate ways, and I was like, I want to keep this thing, and shit, I gotta learn how to cook.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I cannot be an owner of a restaurant that doesn't know how to cook their own menu. So the first year I opened my business, I told myself I would work every day for 1 year straight, because that's how you get yourself out of debt. I did that. I was smooth sailing. Then I had this bump in the road, and I was like, well, shit, now I got to work for another year straight without a break, and then I'll be somewhat in the woods. So, or out of the woods. And so I started teaching myself how to cook. I would be up till 3 or 4 in the morning making all this food for the guests for the next day, and just learning how to do it, trial and error, following directions. I mean, most of the recipes were, oddly enough, when you think about it, most of them were all from my brothers or stuff that I had made. I just didn't know that I could do it on this grand scale. And determination and is what made it happen. And it ended up being so successful that I opened a food truck and brought that to Portland. That became so successful that I opened another restaurant in Portland. And here we are almost 8 years later, and I just hired a leadership team to go big.
Big league.
Yeah, like 10, 20 restaurants. Big.
This makes me so happy to hear.
I do.
Yeah, I do know you, but I didn't know all of that stuff. And so a couple things strike me. You aren't afraid of risks, and you have a lot of faith, not only in yourself, but I know that you've talked about the importance of mentors in your life, and you pass that on, to the folks that you work with and that you hire. Can you, other than entrepreneurship and just that sort of sportsman's mentality of like staying in the game, good sportsmanship, but like a hard, a good work ethic. Who are some of your mentors or people that, encouraged you and showed you how to do things that you didn't know how to do? I mean, you are largely self-taught, but I know that you had to.
I attribute the majority. Sure, I have a good or a great work ethic, and I'm from the school of rub some dirt on it, and I understand that I'm a hard worker, but I attribute the majority of my success from my mentors, my peers, my family. I am certainly self-taught in a way, but more, I have a mentor. He's 50, in his mid 50s. His name's Steven Sendar. He's been my mentor for, gosh, almost 7 years now. And I won't sign a lease. I won't sign a contract of any sort without him checking it out. I have learned how to grow a team, and camaraderie and the culture of your business is so important now more than anything, and morale. So I have a mentor just for those things. And then my culinary mentor would be Naomi Pomeroy. She's the chef formerly of Beast and now has Wet Ripe Cooperative. She was the first female to win a James Beard in the Pacific Northwest. She came to my food. I was in Portland, and I had just moved my food truck to her neighborhood, and she came. Well, Tommy Habits came first, and I was right in his neighborhood, and he owns Bunk. And he said, "Hey, I'm Tommy. I own Bunk. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the neighborhood." So I cooked for him. I was nervous. I cooked for Karen Brooks. I cooked for Peter Meehan. I cooked for Harold McGee. I mean, you name it. Like, I was cooking for everybody. And out of all the people I should have been nervous to cook for, was Harold McGee. And then about a month into being at this spot, this woman shows up, and I say hello, and I had an idea of who it was, but I always ask my guests what's their name, and then do you live around here or work around here? And I said, "Oh, what's your name?" And she said, "Naomi." And I said, "Oh, do you live or work around here?" And she said, "Both." And I said, "I know who you are." And I was like, I've been reading about you. Like, I was in Southern Oregon, and I come up here, and I'm like serving this person I read in Food and Wine and Bon Appetit, and I'm like, holy shit, this is so cool. And she came from a similar story as me, was in business with a partner previously, and really had to shift and really dig deep and kick some ass to make it. And I'll never forget, she was working on her book deal, and she's sitting outside there, and I burned her food, and I'm making sandwiches. Okay. We're not like curing something crazy over here. We're making sandwiches. And I was like, oh my gosh, I burned her food. And I look up, and I was like, "Chef, I'm so sorry, but I burned your food, and I can't serve it to you. I have to start over." Well, this woman waited 30 minutes to get 4 sandwiches from me, and I'm sweating. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I make the food right. I get it out. She leaves, and the power of the internet now, you wait to see if somebody liked your food. And here I am. I'm calling Sendar. I'm like, dude, and he is a foodie. I'm like, dude, you're never gonna believe who I just made food for. And he's like, oh, I bet you're so pumped. And he's like, don't worry, it's so good. And I was like, I screwed it up and I burnt it. And he was like, yeah, but you said it out right, and nobody could appreciate that more. And because if you're gonna screw it up. It better be right when it comes out, because the guests usually don't mind as long as it's right. And I remember checking my Instagram every fucking 5 minutes to see, did Naomi post? Did Naomi post? And all of a sudden it pops up. Holy balls, that shit's on fire. And then I was just like, yeah, touchdown.
I
Like,
made it.
yeah. And I was like, oh, phew. I dodged a bullet. But that was like so inspiring to me. And this person kept coming and ordering the same order, but it was like a little bit peculiar in a way that like Naomi loves sauce. So it always had extra sauce. It had both sauces on the pastrami. Finally, I'm like, it was her assistant. And I finally said, where is this food going? And she goes, to Beast. And I was like, started sweating again. And I was like, will you tell your boss that I want her to be my mentor, and I would be honored if she would come do a pop-up at my restaurant in Southern Oregon. And she was like, yeah, sure. And so she came back again. I said, you tell your boss? She said, yeah. I said, okay. And then she would keep coming back. I'm like, come on, where's your boss? Like, what's up? And finally she set a meeting with me, and I show up to Beast, and it's crazy. And, you know, in the restaurant business, you can plan a meeting and then 7 things could be on fire when the meeting happens. So you're not always like as sharp or like as kind maybe as you could be, you know? And I walk in and she kind of like snapped at me. And I was like, listen, I want you to be my mentor. I'm here because I heard you're the best and I want to be trained by the best. So if you don't have time for me, then tell me now. Otherwise, I'm going to wait till you have time for me. And she was like, sit down and get a cup of coffee and all. And then when she was done wrapping up whatever, we had our meeting and I get up to leave and she says, hey, thank you. I'm proud of you for sticking up to me, and thanks for getting my attention. Like, now she's on my top friend list, and she helped me at Feast win the Sandwich Invitational. She helped me when I was training for Chopped, and did a quick fire for me in her kitchen. She has introduced me to other chefs. Another one of our good friends is Peter Cho, and he does Korean food. And now Frankie and Elliot, his kids they call me Uncle Mel, and they did a quick fire for me, him and Young over there at Hanoka. They're like my family. I was just thinking about how they always made sure I had soup when I was sick, but like they also like teach me how to do these things. I'm not shy. I can smoke meat like nobody's business, like better than most people. And I won't call myself a smoke master yet because Tootsie's 86 years old and God damn it, she's a smoke master. But I am really good at that. But there's other things that I'm not good at that I can ask somebody to teach me. For example, my buddy owns Lardo, and I said, hey, Rick, I don't know how to cook lobster the right way. I said, can you teach me how to cook lobster? And he said, oh, yep, Mel, as soon as I had lobster back in the restaurant, because it was summer and he does lobster rolls sometimes. So sure enough, my buddy calls me up. He says, hey, Mel, I'm doing 100 lobsters over here. You want to come over? And they taught me how to do lobsters the right way. And I can I had Cubbie ribs, and I don't cook those all the time. I called up Peter. I said, yo, chef. And he goes, chef. I said, how do I do this? Like, and we call it chefs per minute, CPMs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, see how many CPMs you can do? But yeah, and so I am very much the move to Portland for me. Ashland's such a small community, and it's people don't realize that there could be 50 restaurants in Ashland, and that would be way better than 10 restaurants. Because if there's not enough to feed people, then nobody's going to come. So it's every man for themselves down there. And here, it's so much different. Everybody wants to help you, mentor you. We help each other. We do collaborations. I mean, I ran out of fucking hamburger buns the other day, and my direct competition, Rick, that owns Lardo, who brings me hamburger buns? Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he knows that there's more burgers to be sold than his.
I hope so, because I love burgers, as you know.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful to hear, because I mean, a couple things stand out to me again: your persistence, and you're not afraid to ask for help. It's like, that's good stuff. All right, let's get to talking about some meat, shall we? What is Montreal style?
Smokier, fattier. Sometimes they'll even go as far as to call it like they do a lot of smoked beef, but it still has they do pastrami in Montreal. It's just a smokier style, fattier. Whereas in New York, they'll use more of the point, and less of they'll use the lean. I use all of it and mix it together.
Got it. Okay, I was curious about that.
But mostly I would say the two biggest things are smokier and fattier.
Okay, got it. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about baseball, because I know that you love baseball, and I didn't realize, I thought you were coaching softball, but and you're still coaching baseball, right?
I haven't coached in a few years now. I'm trying to, depends also what sports my kids want to play, but if I have to coach soccer or basketball, that's fine. But baseball is,
did you play yeah, so you played on teams and leagues and stuff and all that?
Yeah, my whole life. I could have had a scholarship in college to play softball, to almost any D1 school, but I decided to join a sorority instead. I would not recommend that. Don't do that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've been a coach for 15 years, and it's I run my kitchens like I run a baseball team.
That's why I wanted to ask about it, because I do think, as a fellow, former junior athlete, I think sports are such a great analogy and such a great resource. Wow, let's try this again.
Resource.
To draw on for like so many different skills in life that you need. I mean, from, team sports are different from individual sports, but let's just stick with team sports. How do you feel like knowing about baseball and being an athlete has shaped how you run your restaurants?
So being successful, being successful in baseball, success is 1 out of 3. So you fail 2 times to the 1. So an awesome batting average is 333. So I learned how to get back up more than I learned how to send it. And life is like one giant mistake. So not nobody's perfect. Like, to not understand that you're gonna fail that much is wild. Hold on, can we push pause for a second?
Yeah.
So
failure.
Yeah, so baseball is like a really good example of like failing and then not doing good, and what to do after. Like, I always say, like, what makes a good person is what happens after they make the mistake. So baseball, like that was like ingrained into me. That wasn't an option. Like, yeah, sure, I threw my bat a few times, and you're up for the big at bat and you shit the bed and you throw the bat, but that didn't happen very often, and it didn't do anything for my team.
Exactly.
That was like a negative, and so that was really easy to see too, how your attitude can affect everybody on your team, and yeah, and so in baseball, you're gonna have that one swing that's gonna change the entire game. That's it, one swing, and you don't know when that chance is. So if you try every time knowing that your one swing could change the game, it's the same thing in a restaurant. Like there's so many problems that happen in a restaurant that with enough people who are going to have that one really good swing when a problem arises, like, so sometimes Trayvon or Alexa is going to have a better answer to a problem than I am. Like, let's all take a stab at it and see which one's the best. And I think that's huge. And then the emotional part of baseball is 152 games, unless you're a Dodgers fan and you have an asterisk next to your World Series that says you won in the COVID year, and so you
I'll
didn't
take
play.
it.
Yeah, I bet you will. So the Astros will take theirs too.
Cheaters.
Yeah, so uh, that's like a lot of love that you have to be committed to do. And the restaurant business is a grind every day. I was out of town for a week and it felt like I missed a month because so much happens in one day of service. Like, and one day of service could change your whole life, right? Like, somebody came to Sandwich and really liked something, so they told Guy Fieri. So then Guy Fieri came to Sandwich. Like, that changed the trajectory of my career.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could add on being a Cubs fan, and you could just say that that's probably a really good quality to have in a boss, because you'll be extremely loyal
Yes.
and you will love your team no matter what.
Yes.
So there's a lot of unconditional love that comes with being a Cubs fan.
I love
And
that.
there is no way that that doesn't spread into. I mean, I obviously, the Boston Red Sox probably have a similar thing, but and obviously, but I think that could go with any love for your sports team, because you watch your teams go up and down. And
Yeah, I mean, I think it's harder these days, at least from compared to when I was growing up, just because the roster changes so much more frequently. I mean, when I was growing up, going to a baseball game, it's like year after year, it was almost the same players.
yeah,
I mean, I had them all memorized. Same with the Lakers, so, but loyalty is an important quality to have, for sure.
the restaurant business too the field itself has high turnover rate.
Very, right?
3 to 6 months is the national statistic of your turnover rate in a restaurant. And I mean, that's wild. That costs so much money. It's and it's hard and it's draining emotionally, physically.
Yeah. So Melissa, talking more about like failure or just difficulties in life, and that life inherently is going to, throw all kinds of stuff at you. Last year was a devastating year for restaurant owners, obviously. But you just shared with me that you've got some big plans for the future. And so I'm wondering, have you just been able to sort of plan and save, or how did you pivot? There's linguine.
No, that's brisket.
Oh, that's brisket. Okay.
Yeah, linguine.
Anyway, how did you tweak and just sort of adapt last year in order to be able to do what you're planning to do now?
Well, I had to do whatever it took to stay in business. So I ended up finding some contracts to cater to feed people regularly. Then in Southern Oregon, myself and 4 other people started a nonprofit after the Alameda fires happened, where we essentially now what the program does, it's called Rogue Food Unites. Um, I'm not a part of it. I'm just a participant now. I was just one of the original founders, and we have it set up to where we feed the survivors that are unhoused, and we pay restaurants to feed them through money that we've raised privately and through the government. So this program itself has already brought in over $4.5 million in Southern Oregon, which is like tiny. And those are like grand slam numbers, like not heard of in a non-for-profit. So I'm pretty proud of that. But thinking outside the box to when problems and tragedy happens, like COVID's affected people in so many different ways. There's also a lot of people who are unhoused because of it. People who've lost their jobs, and everybody needs food, and everybody needs to be fed. And there's enough people out there. Restaurant people always want to donate everything, give the house away to help people. But smart people around us have also decided that if we don't have money coming in, we can't pay the rent. We can't pay. So we figured out a way to take care of everything. And it's been the hardest work year of my career. My dad also died in the middle of it. It's been so hard, but I found that work is like, I love going there. I love being there. It's so fun. What I've done to make these changes now is I hired a leadership team. There's 3 people on my team that I call the S's. It's set. There's linguine. There's the pasta. That's Sundar, Summer, and Serena. And yeah, I'm paying them to. I'm not the only one making decisions anymore.
Right.
And I'm learning how to scale and focus on what are the actual roles, and then how to put somebody in them. I read a lot of books. Well, not a lot. I mostly audio book them, but I have 2 that I'm going right now. One is Good to Great, and that's an older book. It's kind of just like all dudes references in there. It's written older, but it talks about GE and Walgreens. Did you know that Walgreens owned like 500 restaurants?
No, did not know that.
Yeah. And well, they decided that they were great at being a pharmacy and they were good at owning restaurants. So basically, I'm just weeding out what I'm great at and only gonna do that. And then it also it runs down like 10 companies, and things that they have in common that I think are really important for people to know is they have great people working. And so it doesn't matter what the end goal is. If you have great people, you're going to get it done. And then you figure out what you're and luck and being grateful for everything. Like, I know that I've worked so hard, but I also feel like I've gotten lucky at some things, like lucky timing, and you'll notice that every single one of these companies all agrees that they had luck. And then Abby Wambach wrote a book called Wolfpack, and I think for all the young women in your class and the men, this one's like an hour on audiobook.
Okay.
It is like the 8 rules of like being a leader, and it literally goes like from an old rule to what it is now, and from a woman's perspective. Like, the first one is stay on the path and don't go off the path, like Little Red Riding Hood. And if you think about that, like, they told Little Red Riding Hood to stay on the path if something bad was going to happen to her. Well, we can go on the path, but let's get off the path and that's okay. Like leading from the bench, like when you come to multiple stores, I can't be the chef in the stores. I have to lead from the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And learning how to do that is something so different, and being grateful, but asking for what you need and telling people what you need and what you deserve. Like women we've just been told to say thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Well, God damn it, I earned the opportunity.
Right, exactly.
So I think these books and knowing that young people can teach you so much.
I completely agree with that.
Another thing, like the internet is taking over, and it already has, and it's not changing, and it's just going to keep going. And I think so. I've been really open to change, which is very not typical of a chef. Like I changed the way you order at the restaurant for these restrictions. I've made it feel like nothing's changed. At first, it looked like scary to come order there because nobody knew what they were doing, and we're like, no, you can't come in, but we still want a job. And but now it looks like that's how it was made to be.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So
very cool.
But it's like a lot, and it's very different and outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm doing.
You're very resilient.
Oh, people are like, you're so gritty. Like, I don't know.
Awesome. Do you mind if we take a little breather here and go on and take a look at Sandwich? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. What on earth is this one right here? That thing looks like it's 6 feet tall.
The salad or the ginormous one?
Okay, so just let's go through the top row. You can just start on the left.
Okay, the top left, that's the Mother Cluckin'.
That's new.
Yeah, that's new as of like yesterday.
Is it going to be around for a while?
Yeah, it should be. I think it's going to be like, that's one of Alexa's babies. She's the chef at the restaurant, and she is remarkable and is such a good leader. And this is her creation, and it's a smoked chicken thigh with a barbecue mustard mayo, a house slaw, and the chicken is smoked, and then it is lightly fried.
Ooh, that looks amazing.
Delicious.
And in the middle, we have a little salad.
Yeah, sexy salad.
Sexy salad. What is this beast here on the right?
Okay, this is JoJo PDX did this thing called the Double Down Challenge. And this was so fun. I actually haven't, like, I texted him and I was like, dude, thank you. That was so fun. Like,
awesome.
But KFC does it's called a double down, and it's fried chicken as the bun and then a burger in between. And JoJo PDX, Eam, and Yonder, and I plant-based, I forget what that gentleman's name is, but a vegetarian or a vegan place.
Was it Fermenter? No?
No, they all said, okay, let's get everybody else involved in this double down challenge, and said for everybody who does this and puts the hashtag in double down challenge, each one of our restaurants will donate $10 for each sandwich to Don't Shoot PDX. And so everybody, like a bunch of our friends are doing it. I call up Peter, I'm like, dude, where's yours? And he's like, I haven't, what are you talking about? I'm like, get online and make one. And of course he made one, and it was so dope. Rick, I was like, where's yours? He's like, Mel, I just posted it. And so it was like fun. We've like been going through all of this bullshit, and then we all got to like talk to each other and shoot the shit with each other online and over the phone about these monstrosities. So this is a holy grail, which
Okay.
is Berg sauce, our burger, our house pastrami, our house-made bacon, and our house-made pork pastrami. All of that 2 times because it was a double down, and then it has Murphy's bacon jam on top. That's like a $36 sandwich.
And there's only 2 buns, a top and a bottom, right?
Yeah, that's it. And I ate a fourth of it, and it was fucking delicious.
Congratulations. That is a thing of beauty and architectural
Plant-based
sophistication.
Poppy was their name.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Here we have, this is the Cubbie Cubano over here on the right.
Well, that's the Trebano.
It is?
So that's Trayvon's version of the Cubbie Cubano.
Okay.
So it has everything that the Cubbie Cubano has on it, plus Trayvon's smoked pulled pork, which is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that. I see that right there. Okay. And
Yeah.
then what is that egg salad in the middle?
No, that's potato salad, but I also just made egg salad. That's funny.
So you put a little potato salad on that sandwich.
Where are you?
It's this photo in the middle here.
Oh no, that's the stylist's beef. That's house roasted beef, pesto, mayo, provolone, and arugula. No. Coleslaw,
Coleslaw.
parsley jalapeno coleslaw.
Coleslaw. That looks
Yeah.
amazing. Now here's one of my favorites, this tuna. I don't even like tuna really, but I love your tuna sandwich. And there's another tall boy too, tall girl, tall gal.
Yeah, there you go. That's Oregon Coast albacore that we fillet, poach, and crumble to make the.
That's
tuna
why I
salad.
like it, because it's not out of a can.
Oh, it's dynamite. It's a work of art.
Okay, and what's this here that's coming down the slide?
That's Timmy Mac. That's Guy Fieri's favorite. It's the
Ah,
Timbo on steroids. It's house roasted beef that we thin slice and then we sear on the flat top. American cheese, mayo, jardiniere, grilled onions. That's a naughty bitch. It's like this place I used to go to in Chicago called the Hoagie Hut.
uh-huh. Yeah, that looks good too. Then we have, not sure what that is. It's not a patty melt, but I see the
That's a
jardiniere.
Timmy melt. That's a naughty one too. Anything that's Timmy style is like it's naughty.
Okay, and here you are cutting things up, cutting things up, cutting things up. And there is that brisket? No, not brisket.
No, that's shortstop.
Short
Can
stop.
you push pause for 1 second?
Yeah, yeah. All right, so moving along. Can you, I know that you're also a food photographer. Because, well, I think you're taking, if not yourself, somebody from your team is taking photos of your sandwiches. I mean, it's important for you to have a shot up there almost every day, right? Whether it's like, here's our hours today, or here's our special, right?
Yeah, I usually like to post once a day. It doesn't always work out that way, but I really try and go for one a day. And a picture of our food is probably 80% of them, and then what we're doing is another 20%. And I always post some sort of tidbit like remind them, oh, we're open till 8, or you can order delivery. And yeah, and it always has a fat ass awesome sandwich. It's mostly usually our specials right up there.
Yeah. Or like, it's raining or it's snowing, but we're still here.
Yeah, we're like
Get over here.
Snowstorm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a snowstorm. It's, I mean, Instagram is hands down like the reason why I have, like during the snowstorm, like Instagram was the reason why we crushed it.
Mm-hmm. So it's important for you to have, people take pictures of your food and share it. That helps, right?
Oh my gosh, it's a
Yeah.
game changer.
Right, exactly. So what makes a great sandwich photo?
Not a bad shadow. Um, a bright photo. The tools I use a lot on Instagram are brightness, saturation, contrast, and
Listen to
sharpening.
you.
Yeah, I'm really into it. I just changed my career. And
Yeah.
it's free.
Uh-huh.
I mean, soon I'm gonna have to hire somebody to do it because I'm gonna be. I mean, the dream is I'm gonna be too busy to do it. But
Well, I have a
yeah.
better idea. Why don't you just sit in on the class that we're going to be doing?
I know, but I don't. I'm not gonna have time.
It's only like 7 hours.
No, I have time for the class, but I hope eventually I don't have time to post all the pictures and run the
Of course.
Instagram.
Yeah, well, it's like what we were talking about later, focusing on what you're great at, which is not to say that you're not great at taking photos, but maybe you could find someone who's greater and that wants to do it, and you could just give that to them to do, right?
Yeah, and there is. I mean, you're better at it than me.
There's so many of us out there that are, like Carrie, Judy Ann, that are actually only using their phones that take gorgeous pictures. I mean, you don't need a camera for sure.
Yeah, so those are my favorite tools, and I love getting a nice photo. I love getting one that's like dripping or.
Oh yeah, drips, hands sometimes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, Melissa. Well, I think that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us. And, I will leave it at this. Sandwich has a special place in my heart. And it's not just because you adopted a kitty from me, but back in the days when Pastrami Zombie was over on 42nd, I had a little commute that I was doing from downtown Portland every day to Vancouver. And, it wasn't that bad, but it was, it took me some time to get home. And so I usually like to stop on the way home and eat dinner. And when I had been reading about your burger, so I decided to, instead of get on the 5, I took Killingsworth and I hopped over to Pastrami Zombie. And, there weren't that many people there because it was like right before you guys closed. But this kid, Christian Gucci, he made me a burger and he was just so damn nice. Not like fake nice. I just knew there was like a human being in there that was, and I could just tell immediately, like, I like this place because I know they have good people that work there. And also, obviously, the burger was fabulous. And, I've been back many times. I love the new location because, I hate to say this, but if you have any room left in your stomach, you could walk across the street and get a milkshake at Mike's, right?
Yeah.
But I am a big fan, and I'm so proud of you and your team. And it was great to hear the good news from you today that you're just, you're going places. So again, thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. And you've been following us with us since 42nd.
Yeah, I'm on the team.
Yeah, you've been on the team. I know I make your favorite burger.
Yeah, you do. All right. Take care.
Later.